Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's session. Feel free to introduce yourself on the chat while we give 2 to 3 minutes for other people to join. We're delighted to have you on board. Nice to meet you, Romano. Welcome. Feel free to introduce yourself on the chat. Allow me to introduce our hosts for today's webinar, and then we'll talk a little bit about the program. So Lorna Ruto, kindly introduce yourself, and it's a delight to have you here.
Hi, everyone. I'm so glad I'm so honored and humbled to get this opportunity to share with you and also learn from you. My name is Lorna Ruto. I'm actually a multi-passionate social entrepreneur with a vision to have a green Africa free from poverty. And my mission is really to create jobs, especially for people in marginalized areas. I'm the founder and CEO of EcoPost, Sustainable Living, which is an organization that actually recycles plastic waste, and we manufacture very aesthetic, environmentally friendly plastic lumber and plastic pellets. The plastic lumber has various applications such as fencing, signage, building and construction materials. I don't know if you can see some of the products that we have. Have you seen those fencing, signage, post building materials before? We also have been able to create bridges, like the bridge in Mombasa, Gazi Bridge. We recycle all sorts of plastic waste. We are currently also making classrooms for children, outdoor furniture, among other products. We work with pastoral communities to prevent human-wildlife conflict by providing these eco-friendly fencing materials, among other things. And as we are speaking today, so far we've been able to prevent 13 million kilograms of plastic waste from the environment. This is the waste that litters the streets, clogs the sewers, and even encroach into people's homes. It's actually classified by UN as one of the worst humanitarian crises. And we've been able to create 12,000 direct and indirect jobs. This is by working with the very poor youth and women groups in the marginalized areas who we work together to collect this waste and recycle it to create these wonderful products that are really loved by Kenyans. And after this, I'm expecting orders from you. And then we have been able to save over 4,500 acres of trees because what we are producing and providing is suitable alternative to timber. So we are able to prevent the cutting down of trees. And this is an opportunity that was built because of the presidential directive to stop cutting down trees. And then also there's so much waste. Every day in Kenya, there's over 100,000 metric tons of waste that is just produced, and it's only 10% is recycled. And we will be able to prevent 160 million kilograms of carbon dioxide emission. So think impact. I look forward to hear more about how we will discuss. Thank you very much for giving me this great opportunity.
Right. Thank you very much. I was looking at 12,000 jobs created. That's amazing. Congratulations. Over to you, Peter Kibet. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Maureen. Good morning, everyone. My name is Peter Kibet. I work for the Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization, KALRO. We are a premier research organization that we conduct research across the agricultural sector. And also, we are working on improving several technologies. My key focus area is on working on solutions to work on a problem called aflatoxins. Aflatoxin is a big problem in this country. I think, remember in 2018, there was that big scare about the unga that we consume. So here we are working on our two initiatives. One is our flagship product. It's called Aflasafe. It's a biocontrol product that you use at the farm level to reduce aflatoxins. And I'm glad to be here. I think we will be able to discuss more and share with you. I'm also here to also learn a lot from Lorna, since I'm part of the research to commercialization program with Victoria Ventures in Kenya. So we are still working on our commercialization strategy. And also, but currently we are making some progress in terms of getting our product out, but we still need to track one or two things to be able to get the, to reach our potential, which is about, to treat almost 1 million acres of land, and also to reduce the problem of aflatoxins in this country. So that's my passion, that's my drive. I'm a research scientist, as well as head of a project called Aflasafe project within KALRO. Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you very much. I think we all appreciate that we all would wish to have maize that has zero aflatoxins. So it's a very good initiative that you're doing. So allow me to introduce Stephen Gugu to talk about the project, and then we can proceed with the webinar.
Thank you, Maureen. So I'll just do a quick introduction. I would not use any slide. My name is Stephen Gugu from Victoria Ventures, and really happy to see Lorna and Peter on the call, and looking forward to learn more about the different journeys for the entrepreneurs. So just a few words about the R2C program that we're running. Number one is maybe just to speak about the motivation of the program. And it's really, if you look at the kind of success that we have on the tech ecosystem, we always speak about that, and the total amount of money that has been raised and the kind of success we see with startups like Cellulant, Twiga, and so forth. It's significant. But if you look at the other side, where we look at research-based innovations from our universities, we're not seeing a similar kind of research, so a similar kind of success. And we're really interested, having been pioneers on the tech ecosystem and done quite a bit of work. We run an angel network. We've worked with several entrepreneurs on that front. We're really trying to see what we can be able to learn from that side and apply on the R2C side of things. And so that's one of the key motivations. And of course, the second one is, we have some key problems which our universities have been able to solve using different innovations, but those innovations have not yet come to market to address some of those challenges. Peter just mentioned what they're doing at KALRO. That's an innovation that should be used across the continent, not just in Kenya, to be able to address the challenges of aflatoxin and so forth. So, we'd like to see how we can take more of those kinds of innovations to the market. In terms of how the program is structured, we have two sides of it. Part of it is work with innovators. I'm going to type in the chat. If you're interested to check out some of our innovators, you can be able to then just jump in and check out. But we have 8 innovators that we're working with at the moment, addressing various challenges. There's a link that I'll share that you can be able to click on, and you'll find out more about the innovations. That's one side, and we're trying to commercialize some of the things that they're doing. On the other side, we are working with trainers of trainers. I was going to take content that we've developed on R2C, and that content is going to be used to train more researchers out there. Anyone who's working on a research-based innovation and is trying to take them to market. And our interventions are along those three fronts that Maureen has just put up: training, coaching, and then there's a toolkit that they're going to get. But specifically to the innovators is training, coaching, and introduction. And so once we share the link, please look at that. And if you're interested to talk to any of the innovators, feel free to do that, because I think we are looking for connections with the market where we can be able to engage with. And I think I'm not going to spend so much more time. Maureen, if you allow me, I'll just put in the chat there, and people can pick it up. Of course, these monthly webinars are also very critical. This is the 4th that we are running. There's several more to come. There's 8 more which are coming in the course of the year, from product market fit, funding options, all the way to corporate governance. Please make sure you join us every month. It's usually held on the 3rd week of the month. We've had to twitch this one, but usually on Thursdays at 11 o'clock. So please take a snapshot of these, or just follow us on our socials. You'll be able to pick out the different dates on the different kind of conversations we're having. We try to bring in really good speakers who have a lot of experience. I think you've already seen some of the people who are on the call today to share their views, and just to keep the conversation on research commercialization going as much as possible. Maureen, you wanted me to talk about the innovators, or do I just put the link and then we pick it up from there? So very interesting innovations. Maybe I'll mention just one sentence by innovator, because we are trying to sell them as much as we can. We have Dr. Anne Carroll. If you have the problem where you have solid waste, either from a pit latrine or solid waste that you want to convert to manure, she's the person to talk to. Solid waste helps a lot if you have, instead of using biodigesters, the solution she has that helps to reduce or to increase the degradation of that kind of waste, and it saves you cost in the long term. We have Dr. Gerard Bogwa, and he is working on water treatment. If you think about the typical roto tanks that we have in our estates all over, he's created a methodology where it's coated inside with his solution. And so this removes any bacteria and also reduces the fluoride. And so it makes the water much easier to consume, both within our different locations and also, of course, in the especially in the places around the Rift Valley. We have Professor Paul Takanyo from Embu University, who's created a fertilizer, which has, I want to call it, it's a plant, it's a bio-based fertilizer. So, doesn't use all the chemicals that we speak about. So if you want to learn more, of course, we'll put the link. We can jump on to the next one. We have Professor Romano, and Professor Romano is working with different farms, and he's created also, it's a pesticide that's a bio-based pesticide, which reduces side effects that you have with the typical processed pesticides. Then we have, of course, Peter. We're going to hear from him in a second, so I won't steal the thunder from him. We have Professor Paul Kimuto from Egerton University, and if you love your groundnuts, he has groundnuts 2.0. They're much bigger, more fat content. So if you're a farmer, he's looking to distribute this to as many farmers as possible. He's also looking to engage with industries as much as possible so that they can take on the groundnut and we can use it in the market. We have Dr. Rose Ramkat from Moi University. And if you look at the kind of wastage you see for tomatoes, mangoes, and so forth during this season, almost 40% of what you produce is wasted. So she's developed a solution which you just coat with your mangoes and so forth. You basically wash with your mangoes. And once you do that, the mangoes then stay for much longer. So it's a bio-based preservative. And then you have Professor Duncan Onyango, who's working on solar dryers for our grains. So you have a granary that also dries the maize as fast as possible, of course, preventing the problem with aflatoxins and so forth. So if you'd like to learn more, if you'd like to engage with any of the researchers, we'll share the link and you can reach out to us. Next webinar is going to be on product market fit on the 20th of April from 11 o'clock. And of course, we have the call for the R2C application. We're starting the second R2C. We're looking for 12 innovators. So if you feel you're one of them, or if you know one of the innovators that you think should go through this process, please, we'll share the link in the chat, and you can share that with them, and then we can look out for them. Thank you very much. I pass this back to Maureen.
All right, thank you very much, Steve. I think it was very good to see and understand the context behind of this webinar. That means research to commercialization. So welcome to today's webinar. We have Lorna and Peter, and today we want to understand the innovator's journey, right? And like, I mean, it is normally said that a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. So for me, the first question that I'd like Lorna to take us is, how was that first step for you as an innovator? And how much have you progressed through your innovation journey? So we could start with Lorna and then Peter Kibet. Karibu. You're muted.
Sorry. Yeah. Thank you so much, Maureen, for introducing me. And once again, thank you for giving me this great opportunity. I've just sat here and looked and listened to the innovations that our participants have been able to come up with, and it's the ideas are wonderful. They're very concrete for these countries' problems. So it seems to me that we are very together on the same kind of space. You have these beautiful ideas which are ready to go. I'm not sure if they've already commercialized or you're in the process. And I feel I would love to, I'm so glad to get this chance to share my experience. What happened is I was born in Kaptembo. It's a small village in Nakuru. It was a beautiful green forested areas with a lot of chipmunks and monkeys. This was in the 1980s. But due to rural-urban migration, we lost our forest cover. The trees were cut down to give room to poly-service settlements. And before I knew it, my once beautiful, green, lovely home became a slum with so much waste littering the streets, clogging the sewers. But as a kid, I used to take the plastic waste and I would put them in those Coca-Cola bottle tops and melt them and sold them already. So I discovered when I was quite young that waste is not waste until it is wasted. I realized later on as I was working as a banker, when I was placed in industrial area, I would visit and I would see these big machines churning, producing and converting the plastic waste, that mess into something productive and then selling it and making so much money out of it. So I realized I could actually tackle several birds with one stone. And I realized that one day when I grow up, I would want to take that menace and convert it into something useful. And that's exactly, it was hard for me to leave the white collar job and all that. But I was really, working at the bank will not fulfill my innate need. I wanted to work with youth and women in marginalized areas and find solution to the problem that is really a big challenge in our country today. So that means the opportunity was born out of the fact that there was so much plastic waste thrown everywhere, literally, littering the streets, clogging the sewages, and even encroaching into homes, which is still the case up to date. And then there was this presidential directive to cut down, to prevent cutting down of trees. So there was need for building materials. And there was also these desperate youths who would cut down the signages. You heard the stories about how people were cutting down metal signposts on the highways and selling back to metal scrap dealers. So here was huge opportunities in terms of material. Then there was scarcity in terms of building materials. And then there was marketing opportunities. So my question today is, how are you looking at your problems in the society? Find the problem, get a solution that can fix that problem, then find a market, find a paying client. If you can find a client, like maybe the ones on the government, Kenya, with all the need for signposts, because if I provide my fencing posts or signposts to the government to put on road signage. If the desperate youth comes and cut them down, they have no salvage value. So there was this opportunity, and then now it's the next step was market. You have, if you've not figured out the market, you don't have a business. So I started with after what you guys are doing, the research, it's very awesome. That's after the idea, it's now do a proper research about what you want to build. I did a lot of research, and thank God for the fact that there's all this information from Germany, from Netherlands, everywhere. You know, you experts, maybe you'll teach me how to research and become better like you. But I tried. Not as well as I think if I see your thesis and all that, I'll be so proud of you even further. I tried with the research, and I was very lucky to have discovered a problem. And then my passion is so important. What did I want to achieve? I wanted to achieve, I think, in fact, that is maybe one of the best secrets. How passionate are you about what you want to achieve, your vision, your mission? I wanted to create jobs for youths and women in marginalized areas. They're very desperate. And I could see waste. And how are you looking at your opportunities? Are you looking at your glass half full or half empty? So I was looking at this waste that nobody cared about as the material that could create those job opportunities to the desperate youth women. And then there's this market opportunity. Marketing is so important. When you get a paying clients, that's not enough. Continue further, deeper, dig deeper into that market and try to see if you can sell. If you cannot sell whatever you've written beautiful paper about, you do not have a business. Then when I discovered that I could sell, I then went and did more with no capital. Actually, when I was starting, it was desperate, and it was so hard. I could not even pay rent for only 10,000 Kenya shillings to rent a small space in Kariobangi. But you start at your garage, start in your house, start wherever you can. If you do not start, you will never start. You do not have to get all these big amounts. Congratulations, Kibet. I've heard you got some big amounts. You're so lucky to start with a lot initially. But if you have not yet gotten it, do not despair. I used to write fake checks and I would stick them on my ceiling because I wanted 1 million only Kenya shillings at those 10 years ago. And I would know that that's the capital I need, and I would believe. And somehow I got it within the same period, like 10 years ago. And with that kind of belief, because people saw what I did with the first 1 million, the investors were, I was able to get further financing as time went along. You would go to industrial area and take machines that were being cut down to sell to metal scrap dealers, and I would refurbish it to produce the first products because I really had little capital at that time and I needed to build this product. So start with whatever you have. Do not despair. Use whatever place you have. If it's your garage, if it's your house, it's where. If you do not start, you will not progress. Then find out the market. Your first customer, translate them to more, go back, do a lot of questionnaire, ask the customers what they feel about your product. And then now that's the first steps of commercialization. Then you can go out now and start selling. And then branding is so important. Make sure your brand is out there, what product you're marketing. And then if your intention is really to make a good difference to somebody else's life, I'm sure your product will go far and it will make a lot of impact on the society and to a lot of lives. Yeah, maybe we can, I don't know if I've addressed the question well, but we can continue from there. Thank you so much.
Yes, you have. And I think I like the way you paint how your dream was born, really, by explaining where you were born in Nakuru, I think, and you know how that then translated, and then the government of the president issuing a directive to stop cutting trees. So thank you very much. I think I'd like to marry that with Kibet by asking specifically, what is the problem that you're trying to resolve? And maybe are you as passionate, because Lorna is talking about passion and passion and passion. So over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm feeling the passion within Lorna, and I think we also have the same passion with the idea we're trying to drive. I remember first getting involved with the whole idea of aflatoxins. I didn't actually understand some of the causes, way back, I think, when I was still in school. But I think the story of aflatoxin in Kenya starts around 2004 there, where we had a lot of incidences of people actually who died because of aflatoxins in Makueni, in Machakos and Kitui. And a research team, I think, was brought together with different partners. I was still not part of that team. And they were able to look at those, the causative factors, and actually what led to really the high levels of aflatoxins in those regions. So through a number of years, up to around 2010, 2012, is when they were able to really speed up the research process. So in terms of research, how do we usually go about it? I think for us it's a bit more structured. I like learners where I just go to the market, test, come back. I think you can borrow that a lot from that as well. As we usually look at the problem, where's the problem? And as usually, Steve usually says, the painkiller. So we look at that problem, then we're able to generate some of the ideas. So the team brought together ideas on how we can package a solution that can actually be used by a smallholder farmer. Because the solutions initially, actually, the first product that was used to reduce aflatoxin was called Aflaguard. This was actually in the US. They used to use, so what happens with this technology is it's a biocontrol. So we use natural microorganisms to reduce the microorganisms that cause the toxins in the soil. Okay, so we introduce it way early while your crop is still at the farm, and the protection goes all the way to storage. So even if there's some fungus that may cause aflatoxin at storage, your crop amazingly will still be protected. And we actually just did some studies about 1 month ago, and we've actually proven that concept to work very, very well. But the challenge with these products is the scaling. How can I bring this product to be able to be accessed by Susan Mutunga? Susan Mutunga is usually a good story I usually tell, because she lost 9 family members in Makueni because of aflatoxins. They consumed maize that had aflatoxins and the whole family died. So my desire is to be able to give this product as cheaply as possible. Initially, the product we currently have, so I said the first product was called Aflaguard. They used to use wheat products to reduce the aflatoxins. So that is the idea they had. Then they evaluated this and they were able to really work on this around mainly in nuts industry in the US, pistachios, kind of nuts. In Africa, we started using sorghum, but sorghum again is food. We need to consume this sorghum, it's food. My innovation now is what I'll call the third generation, which we hopefully will be able to commercialize very soon. We are eliminating food materials from our product. So this will be a totally new idea. We will just, so it will be totally new. It's also very, very cheap. It's very much accessible. We're reducing from almost 800 shillings to treat an acre to hopefully 200, 250 shillings. So we are hoping this will be much, much more accessible to everyone. These products, in terms of development stages, you have to go through a process before you commercialize. The key stages really is working on the idea itself. You have to really do a lot of field testing, and this requires a lot of financing because you have to do large-scale testing. And also the next stage, you have to go through the regulatory approvals with PCPB and KFIS for these kinds of products. So it's very, very important to work with the regulators, because if you want to speed up your commercialization, you must go through the regulatory approvals as quickly as possible. So for a new technology, actually, I'm actually working closely with a number of people within the regulatory environment to ensure that we're able to speed up our product and to release it to the market as soon as possible. And I'm also learning a lot from Lorna. We are borrowing a lot within even the R2C environment, where we are thinking of actually doing some testing within the market, because we've identified a number of clients. We are thinking of doing some pre-tests before we even launch the product. We're also still working on the branding for the new product as well. As Lorna said, you need to work on the branding. So, so before, I think at the commercialization stage is also the most critical, because as we speak here, the usage of our product is still very, very, very low. So we use every platform. We are also looking at engagement with different partners. I think I'll pick one success story. I think I'll discuss more on this, is when we were able to partner with the private sector, which really enabled us to scale up very fast. So I think that's our journey, where we really have to work on the research, work with the regulators very, very well. Now buy in also from Lorna's idea, get into the market, engage the market as early as possible. Then you're able to get the product out. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I like the analogy of the vitamin versus the painkiller when you're defining your problem. You know, is your problem a vitamin? Does everyone need a vitamin every day? Maybe some days, but is your problem a painkiller? When you have a headache, you definitely need that painkiller. So when you're coming up with your innovation, I think that's an analogy that I would like, as an innovator, to ask myself, is my solution to this problem a painkiller or a vitamin? And obviously would want it to be a painkiller that everyone needs and is able to use it. But allow me again, just because both of you are talking about financing, I think, Lorna, you're trying to portray a picture where you are having empty checks and putting them on top of your ceiling. So obviously, most innovators are struggling to raise financing. Both you and Peter have been able to raise some financing. So maybe we'll start with Lorna. How were you able to raise financing? What type of finances did you go through?
Okay, great. Thank you for that question, Maureen. And thank you, Peter. I was really impressed by what you've achieved so far. It's awesome. As you have mentioned, it's really, it can be a struggle. I will not lie about that. But what I can say, I look at it as a challenge, not a problem. When I started 2011, like 10, 11 years old ago, I'm not that old. Yes, I am. I had so much difficulty raising funds with my friends. I'm telling you, I had to really scrap to get anything, really. Like I would even I will apply to banks, and I was perceived as very risky. And like conventional businesses, no bank was giving me any loans without beautiful collaterals, all these wonderful statements of how much money you've made in the past. Can you believe? And you're now at that stage of an idea stage. So really, I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs, startups there's a big gap, go through the same kind of challenges. I saw an opportunity in the business plan applications. I don't know if I'm sure all your businesses are garnering top winning positions. It really helped me at that point when I was really starting up, because I was able to write a very good business plan, because I was really competing and I really wanted to ensure my vision and mission came true. So I wrote, it actually helped me by knowing my short-term goals, medium-term goals, long-term goals. I thought I was doing it for the business competitions, but it was actually helping me to understand my business deeply. So one thing I know for sure, if you want to go commercialize and make it successful, is understand A to Z of your business, deep, all the critical. If somebody calls you even in the middle of the night with some weird question about, for example, in my case, plastic extrusion, and who can you sell to these decking boards or ceiling boards or panels, and who are you competing with? All those questions, your market segment, why is your product better than concrete or stones or whatever you're competing with? Why is aflatoxin the one that you have better than the ones that were produced in German and were patented and all that? You should be able to justify and know what your business is really about. So very critical, research, understand your product. That for me really helped to understand what I was dealing with. And then even before producing it and then releasing something to the market, make sure it's safe, it's important to the customers, it's going to be useful. So that's the other stage, impact. What kind of impact will your product have in the market? Is it something that is going to make a difference in people's life positively? Or are you creating something that is not necessarily going to impact people well? So when it came to my business competitions and writing out my plan, I really was able to improve it, and I did a lot of learning and research. I continually up to date. I feel like I have never been able to get enough. So I would advise everyone to continue every day to improve themselves, improve their products, never stop going back to the market. Take a questionnaire, go and ask your customers, how do they experience with them, whatever that you're providing to them? Is it helpful? Is it solving the problems in the market and stuff like that? So from the business plan competitions, I was able to get small capitals, like maybe 1 million. I mean, it's a lot, actually, I thank God. Then it was still not enough. The business I'm doing is very capital intensive. And it was hard still to get loans because my statements were not as beautiful or attractive as they were supposed to be. Can you believe? When you have an impactful product, not everyone cares, unless now, who do you target? I started looking for business angel investors who really cared about making a difference in the society. So what is your product statement? What are you selling? Is it something that is important to impact people's life? Then you target your kind of funders. If it's impact investors, you work hard every day. One of my advice is about fundraising is to the CEOs and founders of your organizations. It's like an everyday job. It should be the place where you spend most of your time than any other thing, of course, but together with your business. It's for you to be able to get that capital that will move you from A to B and become those organizations that you dream about. Who are your role models? Then how are you spending your time? Who are you spending it with? Build your networks. It's very important to build networks with people who can support you, people who are interested in how much time are you spending? Birds of the same feather flock together. How much time are you spending with people who want to build you, support you, help your organization move from this stage to this next stage? So spend a lot of time, build your networks. It's very important, it's very critical. I got a chance to be put in platforms that were like accelerators and hubs that were talking my language, helping me with my vision, listening to what I needed to achieve in terms of supporting youth and women. And I could align with them, and then they were aligning with me because we were working towards the same journey, like what was our goal, to create a difference. So get your platform, get your network platform, market yourself, brand yourself, put yourself in that space, do a lot of research. They're all over. I got on my opportunities when I managed to attend several accelerator programs, both in the country and outside the country, whereby I was given an opportunity for media exposure, market exposure, and these things you apply. And for you to be able to be noticed, practice, practice, practice. Practice at the mirror, your pitch. Like from now, if you are able to meet your role model or this CEO of, let's say Safaricom, because we all admire those big corporates, from here up to the next stage, then your gate, you should have been able to convince that man to sign you a check because of how you will align, how you will speak about your project, how will you present, how will you pitch? It's called an elevator pitch. And normally it's like 5 minutes if you're lucky, otherwise it's 1 minute. You should be able to convince someone because of how you are passionate about what you're talking about, what you are trying to achieve in terms of vision, mission, so that you can align your goals with even the organization goals that you're trying to pitch. Every pitch is different. You don't stick to the same. So practice, then next practice to the other CEOs before you go to the VCs and other investors and shareholders. Practice with Maureen and Kibet. Then practice with CEOs who have raised successfully funds in the past. Then after that, get feedback. That's your target, feedback. Then work on the feedback. because they have successfully done it. You're going to get free advice, and those critical feedbacks, don't take it negatively. If they tell you your business sucks, it does. Make it beautiful, make it work. So then go back to the drawing table, change the narrative, improve, and then now take it to the VCs, to the funders, to the organizations that you would want to consider your organizations. I did that, and I was able to interact with several potential investors. I've raised some equity in the past, but I still do not have enough funds to be able to impact the thousands and millions of women entrepreneurs and youths, because my target really is to be able to provide other entrepreneurs, other youth and women, even with the machineries that they need to scale up their projects, so that as an entrepreneur, I'm able to create more entrepreneurship opportunities. But this is a problem that is really huge in the country. We cannot yet solve our plastic waste problems. There's so much deforestation still. We are not able to, it's just a drop. What I'm doing is just a drop, but I want to empower thousands and millions of women. And that means I need a lot of supporters. I need a lot of followers. So I'm so grateful that today I'm speaking to such important people like you in this panel. You'll help me to spread the word, get more capital so we can go out there and invest and replicate this business and create a better world. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Lorna seems like a marketer already, ready to sell her product at any opportunity. So thank you very much, Lorna. I don't know if you care to just give an illustration of how much you've been able to raise. If you're not, if it doesn't, if you don't want, that's okay.
Oh yeah, I've been able to raise over $1 million, but I need like 20 times that in the next 5 years. So I'm still in the journey. We are together, and I love learning and listening, and I'm waiting for help to be able to impact even more people in the world.
Okay, that's amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Over to you, Kibet. How has your money journey been?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Just to pick it up from where Lorna left, I think it requires a lot of effort. I think for me, I'd give credit to the initial pioneers of how the journey started, because personally, I'm part of a pipeline where we're innovating on another innovation. So the initial innovation, I think I'd give credit to, I'd mentioned them, Dr. Mutegi and Dr. Ranajit, particularly in Kenya. They did an amazing job. And I think talking to them, I realized there was a lot of effort, especially engaging with the donor community and also getting a lot of grants, because the product itself, they were able to put it in such a way that we're able to get funding to do the initial research and also get funding to do the development of the product and also the manufacturing. So I think the initial stages went, I think, quite well. I think they were able to raise over $2 million, which is quite significant. Where we are right now, we are still working. We've been getting a few, I'd say, grants here and there. I think 2 years ago, we got about $10,000. Last year, we got about just $5,000 just to really work on our new innovation. But right now, we've realized to reach the scale where Lorna is talking about, it requires really a lot of funding. And I'm learning a lot also from here, but the extra effort, and also from my mentors as well, because I'm looking to work very closely with them, and also through this accelerator program, which has given us a lot of exposure, a lot of ideas, of even how not to give too much equity, especially when you're just going quite early. And we've been able to restructure our model such that we just want to go testing and kind of work with partners rather than giving out a lot of equity. We are still also working on our framework because we are hosted within Caldo. So we still have our own legal challenges. But I think it would be interesting right now just to look at where we can get more and more funding, just to be able to demonstrate what we can do. So it's interesting. And as Lorna is a successful CEO, hopefully she will be able to give us an opportunity to actually talk with her as well. But I think right now we're also working on our own funds through our own pockets, actually, just to do the demonstration. And actually talking to friends, because when you have a good network within the industry, like PCPB, our regulators, I have very good friends, and just call them and tell them, we're trying to test this and this. What do you guys think? So that when we get to that stage and they'll be doing the approvals, we'll have an easy arrangement. So we're working with them very closely. We're also working with the market just to prepare them for that. And we're also looking at working with the industry itself, because most of the industry players actually have funds for research and development for products like this. And probably they can come in as a partner, they give us some form of either grant or investment, and we can work on them without really diluting ourselves too much. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So what I'm hearing is, network, collaborate, make sure your products responds to the customer's needs, right? So allow me to go to the Q&A session. Feel free to type in your question to the Q&A section for all participants. So I'll just read out the first question and either of you could just take it up. I think the first question is, in the initial stages of product commercialization, how can one handle product modifications when at the same time you do not want to compromise your market? So maybe Lorna, do you want to take this? Because you're talking about going to the customer, speaking to them, making sure that your product responds to what their needs are. So the question is, how do you balance adapting your product and maintaining your initial innovation or your initial products?
Great. Thank you so much. I hope I've understood the question well. We had a lot of questionnaires actually sent to clients in the initial stages of product commercialization when we started with our first products. And it was very important to do that because there was a lot of feedback from the customers. Like some of them would complain that at the initial stage our products were breaking easily, they were not as rigid. So we improvised. We added, someone complained about the fact that if there was too much sunlight, maybe the products would bend and stuff like that. So we had to add UV stabilizers. So it's very important at your initial stage of commercialization, you get feedback from the users of the products and make sure you inform them, be as transparent as possible about your product and that it's on a trial stage or something like that, so that you do not compromise the market, you do not, and then you'd be willing to probably return and provide better. That way you'll be able to get a good brand from the word go. I believe that has really helped us right now, because I've not gotten any complaints, and not that I did not provide something that I know was not very functional in the past, but because I worked with the customers in that journey, I was able to make sure it's to modify on time, improve, then take back for trial. Right now, I'm so confident with our products. I give even warranty for the rest of your life. Even your children's children will inherit. But that is work in progress. First of all, is take to the market, and there was a lot of trial and error even in the building of that product. I remember at some point we were in the factory and we would pour water into manufacturing plastic. I'm telling you, we fainted, and some people removed us from the factory. So also the production process and stuff like that, you need to be very careful. Do not kill yourselves in the process. But trial and error, I would appreciate, is very important. So also there's all these opportunities to study. I wish if I knew if there was something I could have done, I would have done better research with researchers like you. I know you do not make such mistakes, whereby all this information is probably online, unless you're doing a blueprint product. Blueprint, like, make sure you do a lot of research. Do not find yourself mixing things that do not work with researchers, reach out. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness, it's actually a sign of strength. So reach out to the people who have already probably more experience, even if it's researchers, to try your products in suitable chemists. I talked to KEBS to test my products for me at some point. I talked to British organizations to create standards for where I could use to understand even the impact of the product and stuff like that. So over time, continue to build on it. And I try to be true to myself and to the vision and the mission of the company. I really strive to not venture out, so that I will not be creating impact to the youth and women in the process also, because with the AI and the robotics, it's very easy to replace every employee because machines can do this. So I try to be true to myself. What is my mission? What do I want to achieve? I'm not so much into the money, more than into the process of creating impact. And I know that's the reason why probably we've been able to be successful in terms of creating impact. So I'm also true to myself in terms of what are my processes? What do I need to retain at this moment? How can I continue impacting people? How do I move to be able to make more impact? So those are some of the things as you're commercializing your product, your products, you keep in mind, and being true to yourself is so important. And one thing I really believe that I know for sure, it's a secret I'm giving to you, is if you really want something and you really believe it and you work so hard and you're not willing to give up on it, you will actually achieve it. So for that, I'm sure when you're making your product, have those questions in mind. And if you're out there to help someone and make an impact, positive impact on somebody's life, your products will surely be successful. So yeah, I think that's how I've been handling with the products.
Okay, thank you. Maybe a follow-up question, which I'll let Kibet respond on getting feedback from the customers. How did you administer your questionnaires to the customers?
Yeah, I think there was a study we did way back, I think before the product was launched, during the product launching, and especially getting the price right, because for this product to work really requires buying and also a lot of awareness and knowledge from people. So there was a study that was done, and I know it requires also a lot of resources, because we're able to demonstrate the effectiveness and also come back, especially because our product really is, the technical side is on the manufacturing side of the product. The idea is good, but how do you rework the manufacturing? Because if you're able to really cut your cost of production and provide this product in such a way that it's very easy for the customer to use. And I think this is something we're also still learning because we are actually in the process of still reworking on our product as well.
Okay. Thank you. Again, a follow-up again to you, Kibet, because you're the one who brought the concept of painkiller versus vitamin.
Yeah.
So there's a question here that is, I think you can read it. What is a painkiller to one, maybe a vitamin to another? How have you been able to identify who to target with the product as a painkiller? What would be the role of those whom it's a vitamin? And would they help in creating demand? So this is for your product, your specific product, yes?
Yes, I think this is a very, very interesting question, because when the product was rolled out, the second generation product, which calling it Aflasafe, the initial target, actually, this crop was for maize, but the biggest success we've had is actually on sorghum, which was not our initial target. So what happened with sorghum is the biggest buyers of sorghum, whom we know are East African breweries, they use it to make some of their brews. I think one of them is called keg. It's a kind of a beer. So the levels of aflatoxins in their beers was quite high, above our allowed limit. Their limit is about 4 parts per billion. So for the users, the end consumers, this was a vitamin, because they didn't really need the product for their production. When you're farming, if I sell to this market, I'll still get the same price, whether it has aflatoxins or not. But now this was a pain for East African growers because they could not get good quality sorghum. So it was a painkiller from them. But to the farmer, this was just a vitamin. But just to spur now the demand, when the East African breweries took up the product, they're able to give this product in advance to the farmers who used as a vitamin, and it was now a requirement for them to use. We were able to get a very good and sustainable demand, and I think that is one of the areas we had a lot of success. So when now we're working on maize, which is our big target, we want to work more with the millers, the off-takers, the people who are buying, and also the government, because it's a painkiller for them. Then in turn, we will take this vitamin to the farmers who are producing for the millers. So that's our model, which we are thinking of working with the painkiller and the vitamin.
Excellent, excellent. I think there's another question which I'd like to focus to Lorna from Paul Kimuto, Professor Paul Kimuto from Egerton University. He is asking, how do you manage raw material supply chain, which usually involves diverse groups of suppliers? I don't know if you can see it. How do you manage raw material supply chain, which usually involves diverse groups of suppliers? And I take it for you to be the raw materials, the plastics that you collect from everywhere. How do you just manage that supply chain?
Great. Thank you for that question. We actually work with a lot of youth and women. We try to we have a system whereby we are able to use actually technology, mobile-based technology platforms to be able to compensate them so that they can fairly. Normally, these people are normally in desperate, dire situations, and they work so hard, and they're normally, it's called what? Misused by agents who take advantage of them, and we try to remove agents in the whole process so that they can get better compensated for their hard work. We have been able to create other sites other than inside the dump site, whereby we separate these wastes so that they are able to, and we provide the PPIs, this protection materials and stuff like that, so that they have better working conditions. And one of the innovations that we are really working and I'm very proud of right now is we have come up with a product that it's a startup kit, whereby we provide the youth and women who we train. We do a lot of training, capacity building. After we have selected a few, we're able to train, and then we provide startup kits. That's just a weighing scale, mobile phone for some of them, and a shredder, or it can be an agglomerator, or it can be just a startup kit, so that we are able to improve their processes of adding value to the waste products, and then we buy from them, and they're also able to take the extra to other organizations. So we have this market platform whereby anyone who has all the waste, all the different kind of waste, they can reach out to us, and we can connect them even to the collectors and to the market at large. So it's a big business model whereby we have a lot of innovations on how to create better entrepreneurs, to impact the people who are working in that space more positively and add value to and improve their livelihoods by ensuring they're better compensated and kicking out the agents who are in the whole process flow. It's actually the most interesting stage right now for business to see how we can create not only we are creating impact on the environment. No, we want to dig impact, to dig deeper, to create impact into individuals' lives. Like I'm now doing research. That's why I'm saying it's always continually. I'm researching on how we can improve individuals' lives, the ones who are in the supply chain. Like, how can we better their lives better? By saying, yes, there's this woman I've managed to remove from the dump site, and now she's not living in the dump site, at least she's living in the slum. That's good enough. But what about our children? How are they impacted from this project? Is her life fine? Is she healthy? Is she getting choked by bad fumes? So it's not only impacting just the big picture. I'm going to deeper. I don't know what you call that impact. Maybe the researchers will help me from there, because it's something I'm working on, and I'm so proud I'm talking to the right kind of people in this panel, so that I have a lot of research questions on how we can make the impact more impactful. So that's how my supply chain is right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my, I'm looking at the time and it's already 12. The time flows by so quickly when the conversation is pretty interesting and insightful. So I think Jen Toretich is asking for your email addresses, Lorna, and Kibet, feel free to give it to her. And the last question, maybe just as we conclude, allow us 5 more minutes, kindly, participants. So I think for me, the last question is for Lorna. What was the lowest point that you faced through your journey, and what are the next steps? So more of, to be realistic, what was the lowest moment, and what should we expect from you in the year 2024, 2025, etc. And then we'll go back to Peter, and then I'll wrap it up.
Thank you for that question, Maureen. Normally, I have a lot of tissue and I need to talk about that. Today I will not. Which is the case in life. Obstacles can be thrown your way, but I would encourage every entrepreneur to be full of tenacity, persistence, and not to give up. In 2019, October, our factory burnt down to the ground. Literally 11 years of all the hard work, all our assets burnt down, and then our insurance had just expired like some months before. So we lost everything. It was like starting scratch. I was so devastated. I thought at some point we were going to close down. I almost lost faith. I think I even had thought probably we will never get back to producing and selling. However, what changed is there was this outcry or need or reaction from the clients, some who required our materials so much such that they offered to pay in advance, like 6 months, so that we can get our feedback and provide something. It made me realize how important our product was to our clients, and that is so important to make sure that whatever you're providing, is it the painkiller or it's just a vitamin? The need for that product should be there. Then there was also outcry even from the government, from the institutions. People noticed all of a sudden this polythene bags, where the ones that we used to throw waste, they were now accumulating in the dump site. So they were wondering who used to handle these things, where have they gone? So even there was an outcry from the cities, from the council and stuff like that. Initially, when we were starting out, they used to come and arrest us because we had not paid for license and stuff like that, and we would be bundled in those small cars and taken where there were a lot of lice. But then they were now looking for us, NEMA and the likes, and wondering that they noticed the gap. The cleaners, now we were the ones who've been cleaning the city. We were getting rid of a material that was a menace to the society. So they also joined in to come and encourage us, and they gave us free certificates to continue and advise. All these institutions, customers who are paying in advance, then also supporters. What is your support system? We got, I'm so glad I got even encouraged by like organizations like the Cartier Women's Initiative, Borealis. That we have supporters who worked with us, and because of the importance of what this project has been doing to the society, we were able to, then the women, that's what really bothered me. Like thousands of people were now becoming jobless. We needed to rebuild, and we did. And within like 2 years, I think it was the best thing, because the learning curve was so fast. Something that took me 11 years to rebuild, I did in 1 year, and I was so shocked at how fast we were able to turn around and rebuild better. and get rid of all the things that I could not get, I've gotten rid of 10 years ago because of the difficulty of what bad systems or structures that were there. Now that with improved and with better knowledge from and experience and the product that we had supplied in the market, it was easier and better for us. So I thank God. And one advice I would give is when you fall on your back so that you can get back up. And then sometimes God closes one door so that you can open a window with a more beautiful view. So never give up, never work hard, believe in whatever you're doing. And there's nothing so hard, only fear itself. So do not fear, just do it. Go out there, make an impact, and you will smile all the way, and God will be with you. And pray, that's my biggest secret actually. Ask for help and ask also from God. Thank you.
Thank you, and we're very happy to hear that you were able to bounce back. It was just a springboard that you went down and you're able to come up and even higher. So thank you so much, and it's very good that you're able to share that. And the last question, the same question for Peter. What was your lowest moment, and what should we expect 2024, 2025, etc.?
Yeah, thank you. I think the initial stages, actually getting into working with a team, a new team environment from where I used to work before. I think some of those challenges when I got into the team, so new ideas you need to work on. And I was able to really get into the team very quickly and really kind of try to work together, because our environment is slightly different, because the systems we have in government are totally different from where I used to be in the private sector. When we're looking at ourselves, I think we want to work on the solutions that are African to our African problems, so that we don't import any more solutions from outside. For instance, in the agricultural sector, we import so many inputs that we use in our farm, and yet our solutions are here. Our forefathers used to have very, very good innovations. We need to bring those innovations back. We need to scale them up, and we need to share with everyone as much as we can. So my take home is, get a problem, let's get our own solutions, and let's make impact where we are. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we can really appreciate your feedback, your insights, your stories also. I'm seeing someone is saying, I like the arrest experience, Mrs. Lorna, real practical and show reality of government shooting itself in the foot. So I'm very delighted that you are able to join us. I cannot thank you enough. You've taken us through several points, but what I am taking is that you need passion, you need clarity in your vision. You need to have a painkiller and not necessarily a vitamin. And then in terms of fundraising, you need to look at your networks. You need to speak to people, whoever cares to listen. You need to speak to that person. You also need to surround yourself with like-minded people. And, just that you're able to do it, I think I can conclude and say we all can do it. As Kenyans, we can get innovations. We can have our local solutions to the problems that we are facing. So allow me to finish the session today. And thank you very, very much for joining today's session. Thank you, participants, for asking questions and, just engaging and liking, thumbs up, and sometimes, just encouraging the panelists for today's session. So thank you very, very much. And just an announcement that we have an upcoming webinar next week on 20th, not next, on 20th, yes, that's next week. On 20th, we're looking at product market fit. How do you know your product is ready for the market? So I think some of the questions were also being talked about here, but next week we're delving deep into product market fit. So asanteni sana, allow me to finish the webinar and thank everyone for attending. So appreciating the panelists and appreciating the attendees as well. Asanteni sana. God bless you and have an amazing week ahead. Right.